From NBC News, this is Meet the Press.
Trying to argue that governmental action is not forceful, Senator Harry Reid claimed that income taxes are voluntary. If the government is in the business of forcefully taking money from some people in order to provide welfare benefits to others, how will the people whose money is being taken feel about the government?
I don't accept your phraseology.
Some of the things that we need to address the concerns from a downturn in the economy, like food stamps and unemployment insurance, give you the biggest return in terms of job creation and injecting demand into the economy.
Into the auto industry.
I don't think we force people.
Taxation is not forceful?
Well, no.
It's voluntary?
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am.
In fact, quite to the contrary. Our system of government is a voluntary tax system.
Oh, if you don't want to pay your taxes, you don't have to?
Well, we're very involved in it. And let me just put it in context. When this idea was first jointly proposed, it was in response.
The only thing less popular than putting money into banks is putting money into the auto industry.
Government will force you to pay, or they'll fine you or imprison you.
We have a voluntary
We're hoping that this
system.
will have a turnaround in the economy. And the point is, though, that who you tax and how you invest makes a big difference.
I would say that. Well, I say that. I say that. No, there's nothing wrong with being incompetent because you don't have to do as much.
Which is still a pretty serious problem.
If you're competent, then you got a lot to do.
We chose a number and the priorities that would be the most positive in terms of the budget, because we do not want to.
The fact of the matter is that if
we do not want to heap mountains of debt onto future generations.
When you pay your taxes, see, in many other countries it's not voluntary. For
Which,
example,
so far as we know, is not at all connected to their other enrichment program or any program that would lead to weaponization.
The government makes sure that your employer takes out every penny. Many countries don't file income tax returns.
We have withholding here too, don't we?
Pardon me?
Withholding?
With some programs, yes, but I'm talking about in some countries, European countries as an example.
The United States and Russia together made a joint response, and we said that we would be...
European countries as an example. You don't file an income tax return. There is no need to, because your employer takes all the money out.
He talked about creating jobs, about harnessing the sun and wind and the renewable energy resources. He talked about investing in education. He talked about investments in science.
But I don't accept your phraseology that you forcibly take money from somebody else and give it to that's the way it is on any program.
Can the taxpayer...
Highway program is the same. We take money, we forcibly take money in your phraseology.
But let me ask you this question.
Put people in the army.
If you had said to us a year ago that the least of my problems would be Iraq.
He can not pay his taxes.
What will be the...
I don't think anybody would have believed it.
To civil and criminal penalties.
They'll put him in jail. They use force against him. He pays... Everybody pays taxes under threat of jail or fine.
Weaponization.
Under threat of force. In other words, you are forced to pay your taxes. Whether you fill out your form voluntarily or whether it's withheld by your employer, you don't have a choice on whether you can pay taxes that are going to be used for welfare programs. You can't make that choice.
Well, but the reason our system is called a voluntary
response
tax system, and I recognize, that ultimately you can't cheat in your taxes, but we have many provisions in the law they don't have in most countries. We have deductibility for home, interest on mortgage payment. They don't have that in most countries. We have deductibility for certain excessive expenses as it relates to
well, first of all, it's our Economic Recovery and Renewal Act, and that is to create jobs immediately and to build a foundation for economic stability as we go forward. The economists tell us that we get more bang for the buck to the extent that we invest in the American people. Tax cuts have an advantage too, but not as a big or immediate advantage as the investments that we have. And it's interesting because some
hospitals, we have all kinds of tax, some people call them loopholes, but others would call them incentives for people to do business. And that's why you
would lead to
you're not
weaponization.
forced to pay certain taxes. There are ways, if you decide to buy a home.
You can decide not to pay taxes in the United States?
We have seen a lot of confusion and debate.
I mean, I really don't understand what you're trying to get at. What the point of the matter is...
Because you objected to my phraseology. You said that, you say that the government isn't forcefully taking money from some people to provide welfare benefits to others. And
we
in
have
fact,
the well-being of the American people at stake, and we're going to do what is best for them. We will be accountable for it. That's why the choices that we made had to be very carefully made.
That's what it's doing, because all taxation is forceful. It's backed up by physical force. If you don't pay your taxes, the government will intervene with you forcefully. So you don't have a choice. It's not voluntary. You can't decide not to pay and not suffer a consequence. If you don't pay, you'll go to jail. So you're forced to pay.
You don't go to jail. Some people go to jail. There are all kinds of civil...
It's hard for me to remember breakfast. In fact, if I didn't have 2 or 3 girls to help me, I would pretty much be lost and I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing.
Which is still a pretty serious problem.